Welcome to our webinar. Today for our agenda, we are going to go through some STS updates, and then we're going to talk about our new risk model, the multi-valve plus or minus CABG. I know everyone has been anxiously awaiting this information, so hopefully you will find it helpful today. Just a couple of updates. The September training manual has been posted. And then we're going to run through some important dates. So again, today is November the 6th, and this is our monthly webinar. November the 20th, we will have our ACSD quality improvement webinar on blood usage, and we're hoping to have a speaker for that call. So stay tuned for that. Harvest 4 closes November 22nd. And this is OR dates through September 30th. Harvest 4 opt-out ends on November the 26th. We'll have our next monthly webinar on December the 4th, and then we will have our final quality improvement webinar of the year on December the 18th. And again, harvest close for Harvest 4 will be Friday, November 22nd, with an opt-out date of November 26th. And then hot off the press is our harvest schedule for 2025. And I believe this is now posted on the website. Once again, thank you to all of our amazing speakers and attendees for AQO 2024. Just wanted to remind everyone that the deadline to complete your online evaluation and claim continuing education credit for AQO is Friday, December the 13th. All of the recordings and discussions on the virtual platform will be available to you and be there until Friday, November the 15th. After that, it will be moved to the STS Learning Center. And then just wanted to plug once again our new Facebook group. You can scan the QR code there and sign up. There are a few questions you have to answer, or we would like for you to answer as you sign up. And we will get you admitted to our Facebook group. This is just a fun way to communicate and connect with our fellow data managers. It's open to all the databases. And we just ask that you don't post any clinical content on there. Please continue to ask your clinical questions through the FAQ mailbox. But please sign up. I think we have around 260 members now, so it's been pretty fun. I've enjoyed getting to know everyone's families and their fur babies. So it's been fun.
Can I ask a quick question? I'm just wondering if I could just get a thumbs up. Everybody that made that delicious chili recipe that's posted on there.
Oh, I made that. It was delicious.
And then I just want to say congratulations on the QR code. It's so technologically advanced. I'm very proud of you.
Well, be proud of yourself, Carol, because you did that for me.
No, you did it. It looks good.
Yeah, the QR code is Carol's handiwork. I just copied and pasted it into a slide. But it is pretty nifty. It's a pretty easy way to get to our Facebook page. Looks like quite a few people tried the chili. It was very, very good. All right, well, we will dive right in with our conversation about multi-valve plus or minus CABG. So let me move that out of the way. There we go. Multi-valve plus or minus CABG. So what is included? So multi-valve is our new PROC ID 9. And this model contains aortic valve replacement plus mitral valve replacement or repair. And so these are planned or unplanned due to unsuspected disease or anatomy. It also is it also can include or can be with or without a tricuspid valve repair. And these, again, are planned or unplanned. And then also included in that could be an unplanned CABG due to surgical complication. So here to the right, PRAC ID 10 is multi-valve plus CABG. So this PRAC ID contains aortic valve replacement plus mitral valve replacement or repair, and these are planned or unplanned due to unsuspected disease or anatomy. It can be with or without a tricuspid valve repair, planned or unplanned. This PRAC ID will contain CABG, a concomitant CABG, so that could be planned or unplanned due to unsuspected disease or anatomy. So multi-valve plus or minus CABG may also include your atrial fibrillation procedures, both epicardial and intracardiac. It can contain PFOs, primary closure, ASD repairs, either primary or patch, pacemaker insertions, and lead insertions. It may also include VAD implants that occur preoperatively during the same hospitalization, but not during this procedure. Intraoperatively, same trip to the OR, but unplanned, and postoperatively during reoperation. So what is not included in multi-valve plus or minus CABG? So cases that are not included are tricuspid valve replacements or tricuspid prosthetic valve interventions, not explant of the prosthetic valve, or valvectomy. Pulmonic valve procedures are not included. Aorta procedures, lead extractions, and other non-cardiac procedures are not included. And these are not included unless they are unplanned due to surgical complication. If any of these procedures are performed due to a surgical complication, then they will be included. Also not included are transcatheter valve procedures, endovascular procedures, previous VADs that are explanted during the procedure, other cardiac other procedures. And I do have a note here. If the other cardiac other procedure is unplanned due to a surgical complication, please see the coding instructions in the training manual. Also not included, arrhythmia devices other than pacemakers. These are your ICDs with CRT, implantable recorders, and pacemakers with CRT. And finally, not included, lead extractions, planned and unplanned due to unsuspected disease or anatomy. Some additional things that are not included are your subaortic stenosis resections, pulmonary thrombolectomies, left ventricular aneurysm repair, transmyocardial revascularization, heart transplant, procedures to remove cardiac tumors, cardiac trauma, and acquired VSD repairs. So the multi-valve plus or minus CABG has a few new risk model variables. This risk model variable chart will be posted on the website very soon, but it is very similar to the other isolated valve categories, with the exception of 3 risk variables, which are albumin, bilirubin, and INR. The multi-valve plus or minus CABG is going to be reported out on the adult cardiac surgery risk-adjusted dashboard. And you will, it'll be similar to what I have pulled up here on this slide. This is the aortic valve replacement report. The multi-valve will be reported out similar to this. You will get a risk-adjusted in-hospital mortality and a risk-adjusted operative mortality. You'll have that reported out as odds ratios, observed over expected. You'll see a risk-adjusted rate, and then you'll see an observed rate. And this is reported out by the year. And then you can compare that with your like group, your region, and with the STS. The complications will not be risk adjusted. You will see an observed rate for wound infection, major complications, permanent stroke, prolonged ventilation, renal failure, and reoperation. And this is what it will look like on the benchmark reports. This is the morbidity and mortality section of the benchmark reports. And this is an example of what that reporting will look like. So some additional information. This multi-valve plus or minus CABG will be reported out with Harvest 3. That report should be available in December. You should note that the multi-valve plus or minus CABG is a low volume cohort, so there's fewer than half the participants have more than 10 multi-valve patients. So for that reason, there will be no star rating associated with the multi-valve plus or minus CABG alone. That said, the multi-valve plus or minus CABG will be included along with the other analyzed procedures in the multi-procedure composite that will be reported out beginning with Harvest 1 2025. And on your risk-adjusted dashboard report, where you see the tab that's labeled all, the multi-procedure will replace that all category, and it will be all of the analyzed procedures in that composite. Another note, new star ratings are reported out for 1 year prior to being included in any public reporting. I believe that is all I have on that. We figured there would be quite a few questions, so we have, looks like, plenty of time for that today. You can use the raise your hand function if you want to speak. Put your questions in the Q&A, and we will get to as many as possible.
Nancy, would you like me to do a quick demo in IQVIA to where the reports will be shown up, and then I could walk through changes that are going to happen with each of the non-analyzed reports?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Models? Okay,
That'd be great while we're waiting on some questions.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if that's okay.
Yes.
I logged into IQVIA, and I'll go underneath one of the adult cardiac sites. So we're talking about the multi-valve plus or minus CABG. Nancy said it has a low N, so we won't be reporting star ratings out separately on this model. So you won't see any changes. This is the community page that you'll land on when you log into IQVIA. You won't see any changes in this first widget. This will remain the same until we add in the multi-procedural composite with Harvest 1 results. We'll have a specific webinar on the Harvest 1 changes regarding the multi-procedural composite. But for purposes of me just quickly going over this, the only change you'll see here will be with Harvest 1. And that's coming soon, and it'll be a roll-up of the multiple other composites that we have. and include the multi-valve procedures. Excuse me, multi-valve procedures plus or minus CABG. So no changes to this report with Harvest 3 results. When we get down to the bar charts, this is benchmark data. It's not risk adjusted. We will add in the separate category here for the multi-valve and multi-valve plus CABG. So you'll have additional selections or filters underneath this drop down for the bar chart section. And that will be coming with the release of Harvest 3. And then the current missingness unknown or composite rating, we are going to include we will still have the, I think we will still have, I believe, yes, we will still have the 2% requirement for the mortality fields for the multi-valve. Even though it's a small n and we're not doing star ratings with that, we still are going to risk adjust the data. And I believe we'll be updating this report. We'll check back on that with the release of Harvest 3. When we do the multi-procedural composite release with Harvest 1, this will be updated to include the multi-procedural composite categories for your missing and eligible patients, and then the green, yellow, red sections. Okay, so that was the first screen, and then I'll go over to the operational reports. Missing variable report, just pick a quick time frame so we can get in that report rather expeditiously. In the missing variable report, we do have a few new the all category, the filters on the left here. You have all risk adjustment models, process and outcomes measures, and PROC ID. The risk adjustment models are variables that are used in risk adjustment. As Nancy had pointed out, there's a couple additional variables that will be added in specifically for the multi-valve models, like albumin, bilirubin, INR are 3 labs that will be added in just for the multi-valve model. Those variables will be added underneath the risk adjusted model tab here. All of the variables are under all, but when you're just looking at things that are used for risk adjustment, the variables that are important for risk adjustment, you would focus on this risk adjustment model tab. This site doesn't have any missingness. That's why you're not seeing any cases. But if they did have missingness, you would see it here. The process and outcomes measures tabs, these are endpoints. So looking at things like internal mammary usage or stroke, new onset renal failure, those types of outcomes will be focused on here. And then the PROC ID are things that we use to define the procedures. So when Nancy was talking about tricuspid repairs or the other criteria that we use on that PROC ID chart to define what is a isolated CABG or what is an isolated AVR that would go into analysis, you would find those variables here for the missingness. I always suggest just using the Alt tab for cleaning up your data, but we will be adding an additional logic here for the risk adjusted models to account for those new variables that will be added for the PROC ID 9 and 10. And then our next report is the harvest summary report. No changes here. This is just your report that shows you if your data is clean or if you have areas that you need to clean up with your errors, warnings, and things like that. We're not making any changes here related to either the multi-valve plus or minus CABG models or the Harvest 1 release, which will be released with Harvest 1 is the multi-procedural model. There will be no changes here. I'll see. I should probably pick a different time frame. Maybe I need to do a January or something, just so you can get an idea. I think though most people on these calls hopefully have an idea about what the IQV reports look like. But if this, let's do this again. Sorry. If the site, so the site had uploaded files, no changes here for this report for the 2 new risk models that are coming out. But again, don't forget to check this report to check on your warnings. The site, if they had warnings or errors, it would show up here. Outstanding warnings would have a be this blue color. Outstanding errors would have a different color. No outstanding validations. The 33% of the records don't have any type of warnings. The 66.7% have some type of warning. And don't forget, excuse me, that you could filter on these to put them in some type of order. And we'll talk more about harvest cleanup, but I'm just today focusing on changes are related to the multi-valve models. In the participant dashboard, again, I don't think we're going to see many changes here besides I'll pick up a time period besides adding in for multi-valve plus or minus CABG will be a selection within this report. There is one thing I want to call out. Currently we have 8 procedure identifications. Prac ID 1 is isolated CABG. Prac ID 2 is aortic valve replacements. 3 mitral valve replacements. 4 is AV replacements plus CAB. 5 is mitral valve replacements plus CAB. 6 is an AVR, MVR, an aortic valve replacement plus a mitral valve replacement category. 7 is a mitral valve repair, and 8 is a mitral valve repair plus CABG. We have filters for all of these because we have Prac IDs that you can pull out your benchmarked data on an aortic valve or a mitral valve replacement. This now is going to become a subset of what we will have in the multi-valve composite or multi-valve risk modeling. So the 2 new models, Prac ID 9 and 10, are aortic valve replacement with a mitral valve replacement or repair, is Prac ID 9, and Prac ID 10 is an aortic valve replacement with a mitral valve replacement or repair plus a CABG. This is a subset of that population in Prac ID 9, the aortic valve replacement plus multi-valve replacement. This is still legitimate to look at these data if you want to get a better picture. And we didn't want to take this away because some sites do a lot of double valve procedures. So we didn't want to take away this extra filter, even though we will not be reporting out risk adjusted results for the aortic valve replacement plus mitral valve replacement under Prac ID 6. We will be reporting out the risk adjusted data for multi-valve procedures, which includes aortic valve replacement and multi-valve replacement. So just keep that in mind. You'll still see this filter here, and then you'll see another filter, another section that you could select that says multi-valve. Keep in mind when you're looking at this that the multi-valve includes this population, the aortic valve and aortic valve replacement, multi-valve replacement. So I hope that makes sense. We didn't want to remove something that sites may be using, but it'll be reported out additionally within the other new category for multi-valve procedures. So that's the only change here on this report. It's just the filters that you'll be able to see. And just to recap, slight confusion might occur when you're looking at this aortic valve replacement plus multi-valve replacement, and then the 2 new filters that will be added in, the multi-valve with or without CABG. Aortic valve replacement, mitral valve replacement is a subset of that multi-valve filter that will be added. And then the risk adjusted reports, we will be adding, I'll pull up the most recent one that we have posted. Just give it 1 second to load. You'll see this will not be the multi-valve plus or minus CABG Prac ID 9 or 10 will not be a star, will not receive star ratings. And like Nancy said, it's due to the low N. We don't like to produce stars on a low number of cases. Nancy, I think, mentioned that like half of the sites don't perform more than 10 or something like that in the analytical period. So we don't do star ratings for populations that are so small. So you won't see any changes to the quality ratings or the quality ratings details related to the multi-valve plus or minus CABG. When we release the multi-procedural composite, you'll see a new tab here that says multi-procedural. And that'll be a new star rating, and that'll be a new star rating quality details. The ratings trends will add in, into this table. Oh, I'm sorry, this is just for CABG. We only do ratings trends for the CABG composite. So there will be no changes here because this is specific to the CABG composite quality rating. Process and outcomes measures. These populations will be underneath the all cardiac surgery process measure, and I think this mortality outcomes measure. So no change, no new selections here. It'll just be included underneath this all cardiac, which is just all of your cardiac procedures and some of these process measures related to antibiotic usage. And then the mortality tab, you'll see an additional row here. I think we've made changes related to the multi-valve plus or minus CABG. And then you'll also see the multi-procedural here as well. I need to verify that, but I believe that's a change that we have coming. Under the risk adjusted and regional outcome section, we have the isolated CABG, then we have some subsets of the isolated CABG, AVR, AVR replace plus CABG, mitral valve replace, mitral valve replace plus CAB, mitral valve repair plus CAB. When the multi-valve plus or minus CABG begin to be reported out with this next report, you'll see two new sections here that say multi-valve and multi-valve plus CABG. So you'll have additional risk-adjusted results for that population. And then as Nancy was mentioning, when we released the multi-procedural results with Harvest 1 of 25, this all tab will change to read multi-procedural. It will include all of the tabs that are up above, including what's not here right now is the multi-valve plus or minus CABG tabs. All of that will be included in the all tab, which will change its name to multi-procedural. And then you'll see new tabs over here for benchmarked reports on the multi-valve and multi-valve plus CABG with Harvest 3. I tried to go through that pretty quickly, but I hope it was helpful. And then if you have any questions, please put them in the chat box for Nancy. Or in the Q&A, not chat box. Sorry. Okay,
Thanks,
Nancy, I'm
Carol.
handing it back. No
Thank
problem.
you.
Well, there's 32 questions I see.
Yeah, yeah.
And you could take back over screen share, Nancy. Thanks.
All right, so we've got quite a few questions. We'll get started with those. All right, so when can we expect our Harvest 3 reports and any update on when the latest star rating results will be posted? So the Harvest 3 reports, which will include the latest star rating, those should be coming out and be posted early December. Nicole is asking, will AV repair be considered in the new IDs at some point in the future? I'm not sure about this. I know that AV repair procedures are a pretty low end, and they're frequently associated with an aorta procedure, which we will eventually have a risk model published for that. So stay tuned. I'm not sure. Not sure about this one. Carol, do you?
Yeah, I would just add in, you mentioned the really low N. So just to explain why we wouldn't include those in these models is the very high risk with the procedures, and the low N makes it really hard to model those types of procedures. We've seen something similar with tricuspid procedures where we're able to produce a calculator on the STS website, but due to the low N, it's not statistically valid to really report those out separately in risk adjusted data. We can do a patient bedside calculator, that's a little different, but with analysis, we need a larger N to make sure our confidence intervals are useful to the population that we're providing them to. I hope that helps.
Thanks, Carol. All right. Are the new PROC IDs posted on the website? They are not right now, but they will be posted very soon. Carol and I are working on getting that ready to be posted on the STS website. Oops. Laura is asking if the patient has an intracardiac maze with it, does it not make us code not applicable under sequence 1966? I'm having to look at this for a second, Laura.
Is she talking specifically about the multi-valve proc ID or is just any proc ID?
Yeah, Laura, do you want to unmute yourself and clarify your question? Are you talking specifically about multi-valve?
We need to give her access.
Yeah. Can you help me with that, Emily?
Okay. Yep. Okay, I pressed allow to talk for Laura. Is it Laura?
Laura?
Hi, can
Okay.
you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
So I thought I heard when you started talking that if for the multi-valve, my question is if they do an intracardiac maze with that for that sequence 1966 risk discussed, it normally is not applicable for a intracardiac maze done with a procedure. But I could have swore I heard you say that it's not valid for this. Does that make sense?
So we have, I can
Okay,
take this one. Oh,
Do you want me to take this one?
I was just going to talk about the new risk calculators.
Okay.
Well, go ahead, Melinda. Go ahead, please.
Oh, I was just going to say that it depends on what procedure you're doing, Laura, for intracardiac maze. If you're doing a mitral valve procedure, it doesn't matter if it's an intracardiac maze. It's not going to affect risk case isolation. So in the multi-valve procedure ID that Nancy was reviewing, the intracardiac maze is not going to affect case isolation.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Melinda.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right. Next question. When will the IQVIA community page update with the next harvest date, specifically the current harvest missing unknown % composite rating section?
Actually, I can answer that one.
All right.
Yeah, we just, those dates get updated right after the previous reports get posted. So
Yeah, I
it's
think-
kind of, it's leading up to the report. Then when the report gets posted, they update the dates there.
Yeah, the problem is that the reports are being posted after Harvest 4 closes. So we're gonna have to talk to IQVIA about that
Yeah.
because it should have been closed it should have been updated right after the last harvest closed
Mhm.
to reflect the current harvest. So we'll have to talk to IQVIA more about that. Thankfully, this is not a star rating period. And I would just encourage you to use your reports within the IQVIA platform, the missing variable report, participant dashboard, and the harvest summary reports to ensure that your data is cleaned up. And Paul, Nancy and I will work with IQVIA to make sure that this hopefully doesn't happen again. Because it should be updating right after that last harvest closes. So we're current with what we're looking at for the current harvest period that we're in.
Right. Thank you. So Tabitha is asking, will there be an observed over expected for morbidity and mortality for the valve CABG category? you will get observed over expected for inpatient in hospital mortality and for operative mortality. The morbidity measures, you will not receive an observed over expected for those. And Kelly is asking, will these multi-valve cases be eligible for the exceptional risk exclusion? They are analyzed cases, but they are not star rating cases by themselves. So for exceptional risks, they are analyzed, so they would be eligible for that. Remember, it's a low N, so you may not want to exclude those. It will affect your observed over expected. If you had a case that was expected, that had multiple risk factors, you would want those included if that case, if that procedure went well. Carol, do you have anything to add?
No, I think you covered it well, Nancy.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we would still the bottom line is we could still review those multi-valve cases for exceptional exclusion. Just because we don't have a separate star rating for them, I think you said it, well, they'll go into the multi-procedural star rating. So we could still exclude those cases from analysis since they're eventually be part of a star rating. But like Nancy said, it is a low N, so just be aware of that.
Next. So, Pat, can you repeat the star rating slide again, please? I'm guessing this is the slide you're talking about, Pat. So for multi-valve plus or minus CABG, there will be no individual star rating for this category, but multi-valve plus or minus CABG is going to be included with the other analyzed procedures in the multi-procedure composite. And the multi-procedure composite will be a star rating, and that will be reported out beginning with Harvest 1 2025. Rhonda, what is case volume for multi-valve procedures to be analyzed for star rating? Oh, I'm thinking.
I can unpack this one, Nancy.
Okay.
So we won't have star ratings for the multi-valve procedures. The multi-valve procedures will become part of the multi-procedural star rating composite. For that, I don't know what the case volume is going to be, but that will look at all of your procedures, CABGs, AVRs, CABs, AVRs, mitral valves. Everything will be part of that multi-procedural composite. I'm not sure what the case count is for that to be included in analysis. We'll have a better idea, but likely I can't imagine it that it would be more than what you're already what we already have set out for CABG. It just has to be a volume that we're able to determine that the analysis would be statistically relevant at that certain threshold. So we'll provide that more information out on that as we get closer to releasing it. And we don't do rankings, we do ratings. So we don't rank sites, we rate them 1, 2, and 3 stars, with 2 being performing as expected, 3 stars better than expected, 4 stars you need a little bit of 4 stars not as expected.
Thanks, Carol.
Mm-hmm.
This next question may be for Carol or Paul. Al is asking, when can we expect vendors to get this information so they can isolate the category like they do with the others?
That's actually a good question. So we have been working with the vendors, letting them know about the changes coming to the Proc ID and also all the risk calculations and all that sort of stuff. But that has been kind of, when we do this, we want to do it all at the same time. And the models have been coming along progressively. And so it's been delayed getting the information to the vendors because we want to wait until it's all in concrete, give them all the information at once, and then certify them on that. But we're also playing around with ideas of how exactly they're going to do the calculations and how that's going to be done. So it's kind of up in the air right now. So I don't really have a timeline for you at this point.
Oh, thank you,
Yeah,
Paul.
because we're looking into like new ways, new technologies that would make this cleaner and more accurate and stuff like that, and easier for everybody. So just looking into those possibilities, but yeah, so little delay at this point.
All right, Gina's asking, will this slide deck be available for download? The slide deck will be on the STS website along with the live recording of this webinar. Is there a new Proc ID chart? Yes, there is a new Proc ID chart. It's going to be posted to the website very soon. What is the threshold for volumes for these cases to be included in harvest reports? And I think Carol just answered that. Our surgeon is
The only thing, sorry, Nancy, I couldn't find the mute. The only thing I would add is just to the thresholds are posted in the STS National Report Overview. Nancy is finishing up updating the current one that's posted with additional information for the multi-valve and multi-procedural composites. That'll be posted in the coming week. The thresholds will be listed in the National Report Overview, so it's a great reference to have that. And it's listed, if you're not sure if you've never accessed the report overview before, it's on the IQVIA platform under the Resources tab, Library or Resources tab, and it's one of the first sections at the top of that page will say National Report Overview.
Tabitha, our surgeon is also asking, will there be an O to E for morbidity and mortality on the all procedures coming out with Harvest One? And so that multi-procedure composite, there will be an O to E for morbidity and mortality with that. Sean, so all will be replaced with multi-procedure, just a name change, but includes all the procedures that receive a star rating. That is correct, but it will also include the multi-valve and the multi-valve plus CABG. Will the certified vendors receive the algorithm so the procedures can be identified before release of harvest reports? And I think that Paul answered that one. And again, the all procedure category shows operative mortality will be going away in the risk adjusted reports. So the all procedure category will be replaced with the multi-procedure category.
Just a rebranding. It's the same.
Yeah.
We'll see the same information, and then we'll add in the multi-valve plus or minus CABG, and we'll just rebrand it from all procedures to read multi-procedures. It's just a name change with some additional information making up the population.
Then Dia asked, the multi-valve will be on the star rating page. Multi-valve will not you won't receive a star rating for multi-valve, so it won't be on the star rating page, but the multi-procedure, which will contain the multi-valve, will receive a star rating, and that will be on the star rating page. What is the difference between Proc ID 6, AV replacement plus mitral valve replacement, and Proc ID multi-valve? So AVR plus MVR, Proc ID 6 is a part of Proc ID 9, the multi-valve. So it will be included in that Proc ID 9.
Yeah. And the difference is that Proc ID 6 is only looking at aortic valve replacements plus mitral valve replacements, where Proc ID 9 will look at aortic valve replacements plus mitral valve replacements or repairs. So it's adding in the repair part of that for the multi-valve.
All right, Jenny's just clarifying the not included list. These are procedures done concomitantly with multi-valve or multi-valve plus or minus CABG, except with the unplanned scenarios you mentioned. Yes, that is correct. And then another question about Harvest 3 reports. Those will be in early December. The Proc ID chart is going to be updated to the website very soon, probably within the week. And then another question about the vendors being required to add logic to the database to determine and identify cases that fall under Proc ID 9 and 10. And yes, Paul has answered that. That will be included with your third-party vendors. And Leonardo has another question. Will a risk algorithm be added to the registry? I'm assuming that's a risk calculator. What do you think, Carol?
What are our fancy new risk calculators that our wonderful research team and analytics team has put out? Let's pull them up. Because we had a bunch of new risk calculators released. We've worked, our analytics teams worked really hard on these.
Yeah.
So I can share my screen, Nancy.
Yep,
We'll go through these real fast.
that'd be great.
Hold on. I sing a song to the dogs when they're waiting for me to go outside. It's like, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. All right, so I'm in the STS, and I'm going to go over, so under research and data is the risk calculators. This page has a new layout, you'll notice. If you haven't been here, we've kind of split them up really nicely so you can hopefully find what you're looking for and quicker. GTSD just had 2 new risk calculators released, the esophagectomy and the primary lung cancer. These are both for primary cancers, not metastasis, for esophagectomy and lung. When we get down to the adult, this is the historic ACSD operative risk calculator, which is used for all of our PROC IDs. I don't know that multi-valve is included in this right now. I think, let's see. I think the plan is to eventually include it in here, but right, so we don't have the multi-valve composite in here. This is going to be for all PROC IDs 1 through 5, 7 and 8, 1 through 5, and 7 and 8. Yes, that's right. So that's where you'll find this, and then they'll need to combine or pull in the multi-valve models. But for right now, we have this multi-valve surgery risk calculator. So there was a question about 1966, a sequence number 1966, about coding if the risk was discussed with the patient. You can certainly code yes now, since we have a multi-valve risk calculator for that. Mitral regurgitation risk calculator. This is specific to mitral regurgitation. Isolated tricuspid valve surgery. This is for patients having tricuspid procedures. TAVR after TAVR calculator, and then the multi-valve. So this is the one where you'll access that. And I think that was the question, and I hope I answered it.
Yeah, I think you did. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
How about aorta procedures, AVR plus aorta? Is there a PROC ID? Can we expect a new PROC ID for aorta? The aorta risk model, I believe, has been published, and Carol, I don't want to misspeak.
Yeah, well, I can
think it'll
take this
be a
one, Nancy.
while.
So
Pardon?
I can take this one. So the
Yeah.
aorta paper has been published. It's open source right now on the Annals. If you're interested in reading that, I can pull it down and stick it in the chat box. The risk model will be for ascending aortic aneurysm repairs, non-emergent in nature. And I think it could include not sure if it includes valve or not, but we'll post it on there. There will be a new PROC ID for that, and it'll likely be released in 2026. We have to get these 2 new models out, and the 2 new CABG model, or 2 new valve and CABG models out, the multi-procedural model out, and then we'll focus on the aorta model. And there will be a new PROC ID for that once we get it closer to releasing to the reports.
Thank you. And again, what is the procedure count lower limit to include multi-valve plus CABG in the composite quality ratings? So the multi-valve and multi-valve plus CABG are not going to be a star rating. So you won't find that in the quality ratings in your reports. And it's a low end, so I'm not sure if
Did
there
I
is a,
misspeak, Nancy? Because I see a couple
Yeah.
things in here that are referring to star ratings for the multi-valve and multi-valve plus CABG. There will not be a star rating for the multi-valve plus CABG. There will be a star rating for the multi-procedural model, which will be released with Harvest 1 data. There will be risk-adjusted results for both sets, the multi-valve set and the multi-procedural set will receive risk-adjusted data. Multi-valve will not have a star rating, multi-procedural will.
just to clarify, our star ratings risk adjusted. So yes, the data elements that go into calculating the star rating are risk adjusted. So Dia asked again about star ratings and the community page. So the multi-valve will not be on the community page, but multi-valve is included in multi-procedure, and that will be on the community page. Multi-valve plus or minus CABG is risk adjusted. Leonardo was asking if the risk calculator will be embedded into the third-party software as the current PROC ID 1 through 5 and 7 and 8.
That was the same. I think that's similar to the question that Paul had answered.
Multi-valve will include, so the question is, will multi-valve also include multi-valve or mitral valve repair with tricuspid valve repair? So for multi-valve, it includes the aortic replacement. So it wouldn't be just a mitral valve repair with tricuspid repair alone. Oh my goodness. I'm getting behind here, sorry. Can you clarify once more what the 2 new star rating categories are going to be called, multi-valve and multi-valve plus or minus CABG? So the only new star rating that we're going to be getting with Harvest One 2025 is the multi-procedure. Multi-valve and multi-valve plus or with cabbage are included in multi-procedure with Harvest One.
But no separate star ratings for multi-valve or multi-valve plus cabbage.
And yes, Crystal, multi-procedural will be a star rating. When will we receive additional data reports on the other procedures like myomectomies, VSDs, aortic dissections? A long time ago, we could see national versus site, volume, mortality rate, etc. Carol, can you take that one?
I want to look something up real fast because for some reason, I thought we were could you go to the next one and I'll come back to this one?
Yep. All right. Would you please one more time clarify what is to be included in the multi-procedure composite? What about aorta procedures or mazes? So the multi-procedure composite is going to include isolated cabbage, isolated aortic valve replacement, isolated aortic valve replacement with cabbage. It's going to include isolated mitral valve repair or replace, isolated mitral valve repair or replace with cabbage, and it will include multi-valve and multi-valve plus or minus or multi-valve with cabbage. Aortic procedures are not included. And maze procedures are included if they're done with an isolated case that that is included in that proc ID. So for example, an epicardial maze with a cabbage would be included. An intracardiac or an epicardial maze would be included if it's in conjunction with a mitral valve procedure. Can you clarify if pericardial windows and surgical lead placements are included in our volumes if they are entered into the database? I'm going to defer that to Carol as well. In the risk-adjusted report, our blood products used, are those just intraoperative blood products? There is a place in our report for intraoperative blood products and also postoperative blood products, Kelly.
I got answers. I have answers.
Okay, good.
All right. So for Heather's question about the other procedures, myomectomy, VSDs, aortic dissection, we don't have them reported out like they were previously with the PDF reports when we were with DCRI for our data warehousing. They are reported out in the IQVIA platform in aggregate, a combination of all other procedures. And you can see counts related to, I think, dissections and VSDs. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real fast just to show you where I'm seeing that. So under the participant dashboard, I'm just going to select a time frame. Under procedures, if you scroll down, there's this none. This is the this means that it's all other. These are non-analyzed cases. So anything else that falls into that other category will be under none. And then if you select apply parameters, you'll get the number of cases that fell into that. And then I think you're able to see, if you select operative, you'll be able to see just wait for that screen to load. Just a minute, I'm sorry. But I believe, oh, let's see. Yep, there we go. So you'll be able to see how many aorta procedures you had. These are going to be the ones that are falling under none or um, other cardiac procedures and things like that. It's not written out in a graph like we had it when we did the PDF reporting, but it is here. And then there's another question about blood usage. Just 2 sections to check. The operative section will have your intraoperative blood products. The post-operative section, this tab here, will have your post-operative blood products, and then it'll combined report for total post-operative or total blood products. So you have your post-operative. Oh, I thought it was here. It must be in the bench. Sorry, I'm talking about the benchmark report. Never mind. Disregard what I just said about blood products. But your post-operative blood products are here. Your intraoperative blood products are in the operative section. And then you had a couple other questions that you wanted.
Pericardial windows and surgical lead placements, are those included in the volumes if they're entered into the database?
Yes, they are included underneath that none category that I just showed. So this is the participant dashboard, which is the raw data. They'll be accounted for underneath the none category.
All right, and then Laura just needs a clarification.
Yeah. So the intracardiac maze with the multi-valve procedure, how would you treat that for if a risk was discussed with the patient? So because that patient, these types of procedures, the multi-valve, so they have an aortic valve and a mitral valve, and they have an epicardial maze or intracardiac maze procedure performed. That's going to use you would use this multi-valve risk surgery calculator, and so you could code that the patient had the risk discussed with them, as long as the calculator was done and the coding was correct, the documentation was correct to say that they discussed the STS. This is the risk calculator, and I'm looking for surgery type. We did a mitral valve replacement. We did not do a CABG. We didn't touch the tricuspid, and this is already selected as an aortic valve because the aortic valve is automatically, you have to have an aortic valve replacement done in order to be counted towards a multi-valve. So it's going to always be aortic valve replacement. It's going to be either a mitral valve repair or replacement, and a CABG, yes or no to the CABG. So for this one, it's an aortic valve replacement, mitral valve replacement. We didn't touch the tricuspid, and we did an intracardiac ablation, an intracardiac maze procedure, which is this selection. This is going to keep it within the analyzed group. So you would still be able to fill this out, get an assess the risk on the patient preoperatively, share that information in the pre-op planning, and then surgeon would dictate that they discuss the STS risk score with the patient, addressed all concerns or whatever they typically say with the STS risk calculator discussion, and then you could code yes to sequence 1966 for the risk discussed. Okay, I got that one.
You got it, thank you.
Yep.
All right, Kelly, what is making up the multi-procedure composite? So multi-procedure is all of the analyzed procedures. Isolated CABG, isolated valve with CABG, isolated valve. And then it will also include the multi-valve and multi-valve with CABG.
Show the
And then Amanda, procedures that currently fall in the none or other category are not included in the multi-procedure or
That's
star
correct.
rating. Blair, so ADR CABG and MVRR CABG categories are moved into the new multi-procedural category after Harvest 1. So no, we will still have those categories and you will get a star rating for AVR cabbage and mitral valve repair and replace with cabbage. They'll be included in the multi-procedural composite, but we're not going to remove them. So you will get a star rating for those valve with cabbage categories individually, and then you'll get another star rating with all of that rolled up into the multi-procedural category.
Yeah, I'll just add for a little clarification on that, Nancy. It always has to have an AVR and it always has to have a mitral valve procedure to be considered a multi-valve procedure. So it would be an aortic valve replacement with a mitral valve repair or replacement. So aortic valve replacement, if you're thinking about this logically, like how you would write it out in a sentence, it would read aortic valve replacement and mitral valve repair or replacement with or without CABG procedure. So it's always going to have two valve procedures performed. One of those is always going to be an aortic valve replacement. The other one is going to be a procedure on the mitral valve, either a repair or a replacement, and then it may or may not have a CABG. So that's different than the AVR cab and the MVR cab PRAC IDs because it's a multi-valve with or without CABG. So it always has to have an aortic valve replacement. It always has to have a mitral valve procedure, either a repair or a replacement, and it may or may not have a CABG procedure with it. Is that helpful?
Yes.
Okay. I know it's going to take a minute for all of us to get this, but we'll get there. Don't worry. We'll get there. And Nancy and I don't mind the questions.
No, we don't mind at all. Patient had an aortic aneurysm repair plus AVR. AVR risk calculator was used. I coded no to STS risk calculation discussed as technically patient would fall into another category. Is that correct?
I agree that I would not code that because the aneurysm repairs are not part of the AVR. They're not part of the AVR procedure identification. So if a patient is scheduled for an aortic valve replacement, and then they also have an aortic, an ascending aorta repair, a root procedure on the aortic root, that category is, like you said, it's going to fall out of the isolated AVR category. The risk model for AVR is specific to AVR procedures, and anything additional that's done specifically on the aorta removes that from the analyze. So the risk model calculator, although it might provide some type of estimate risk, it doesn't take into consideration the procedure on the aorta. So we don't want to say that the risk was discussed for that particular case because the risk model doesn't necessarily match that case. The risk calculator doesn't necessarily match that case.
Thanks, Carol.
Uh-huh.
Carol, do you have your IQVIA still pulled up
Oh, Lord.
platform?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you go to the risk adjusted dashboard and show that page?
Which page am I looking at?
So select a star rating period.
Oh, 1 second.
Sorry.
That's it. No. That's our, okay. So harvest one's our last star rating. So I selected the analysis through December 31st.
We have a lot of questions asking to clarify what exactly is in multi-procedural.
Okay. I started
So-
to pull up the PRAC ID chart. I don't know. We can look at it both ways. So the multi-procedural is going, and I have the other one pulled up. Hold on. I just got to find where I put it. Doo-doo. I was actually working on this right now. So right before this call, Nancy and I were working, and then so this is the PROC ID chart that we have, and you'll see PROC ID 1 is the isolated CABG, PROC ID 2 is the AVR, isolated aortic valve replacement, PROC ID 3 is the multi-valve replacement, PROC ID 4 is the aortic valve replacement plus CABG. Get down here. PROC ID 5 is the mitral valve replacement plus CABG. PROC ID 6, which is the one that's going to be a subset of this new multi-valve. PROC ID 6 is the aortic valve replacement plus mitral valve replacement. PROC ID 7 is the mitral valve repair, and PROC ID 8 is the multi-valve repair plus CABG. All of these, exclude 6 from this, just ignore 6 for right now. All of these 1 through 5. So the CAB, AVR, MVR, AVR CABG, 1 through 4, and then we'll loop in 5, which is the MVR CABG, MVR repair 7 and 8, MV repair plus CABG, and then we have 2 new PROC IDs that are coming out with Harvest 3, and that's the AVR plus MVRR, which is the mitral valve repair replacement, and the CABG AVR plus MVRR, CABG AVR mitral valve repair replacement. All of those will be lumped together. So PROC IDs 1 through 5, 7, 8, 9, and 10 will all be lumped together, and we'll call that the multi-procedural composite. So it's one large group of cases all put together, and we'll do composite ratings, risk-adjusted results on that. We already do something similar for the surgeon-specific composites, which are multi-procedural. If your surgeon is already participating in to receive or has already consented to receive their surgeon-specific composite, it'll be very similar to what that composite looks like. And it's all of these procedures wrapped up into one category called multi-procedural. And that'll be the new risk adjustment. And the other way we can look at it is if we look at the reports. I hate that we have these subsets here. Just ignore these 4 isolate the CABG subsets. But another way to look at it is the isolated CAB, the AVR plus CAB, MVR, MVR plus CAB, mitral valve repair plus CAB. We'll have the 2 new multi-procedurals, multi-valves, and then that will all equal the multi-procedural composite, multi-procedural risk-adjusted results. Up here, what you'll have for quality ratings, you'll have a CABG, you'll have your AVR, you'll have your AVR CABG, MV repair or replace, because remember, we report those out together for quality ratings. And then mitral valve repair or replace plus CABG. You're then going to have another box down here that says multi-procedural, and it will be a composite rating of all of these combined together. And I can, if you have specific questions, we can answer those. I just don't want to provide too much extra information because it seems like this might be causing a little bit of confusion. So just for trying to help us understand, it's the CABG, AVR CAB, mitral valve repair, replace, mitral valve repair, replace, plus CABG, AVR, MVRR, plus or minus CABG, and that will all equal the multi-procedural. Good.
Yes, thanks, Carol.
Okay.
I think that might have answered most of these questions.
Barbara, I cringe when I look at the PROC ID table. I think we need to have another great call on the PROC ID table and just walk through it together. Sometimes I think because it's so scary looking, and I think sometimes we just need to step back and ask ourselves, what are we really trying to understand with it, and see if we can answer the question answer our question by looking at it instead of just looking at it and trying to absorb the PROC ID table. Going to the PROC ID table with a specific question And then I think it kind of pops out at you better. And I think maybe we'll do that on one of the upcoming calls once we get these new models rolled out.
Barbara says she cringes when she has to look at the Proc ID table.
Yeah.
We need more time to get more information to our surgeons and leadership. When can data managers anticipate another webinar about this?
So the surgeon, I mean, the manuscripts have been posted about this, and we've done, I believe we've done webinars, or the webinars will be coming out. And I think there's been a whole lot of other information that's been shared already with the surgeons. Now, if they've read it or not, that's a different story. Or if they've watched it.
Melissa says, I think what everyone is wondering is what is the point of the multi-procedural category?
I can take that one too. So each of these procedures here, each of the ones that we're currently reporting star ratings on, CABG, AVR, AVR, CAB, mitral valve repair replacement, mitral valve repair replacement plus CABG, they're all provided. We all have, I'm going to start at the beginning. The point is that you'll get a better assessment of the quality of your program because you're going to have a larger N with the multi-procedurals. Because it's including everybody. So the larger N you have, the more accurate it can, the more accurate the quality of the program is reflected with it, the larger N. That's how you gauge quality. The larger N you have, you're able to see if there's differences in quality throughout time, outside of it just being a spike in cases or a decrease in cases causing the star ratings to go up or down. So a larger population is a better indicator, provides a better indication of quality at the site, or can be used to provide a better indication of quality at the site. That's why we're going with the multi-procedural. That being said, each of these are still relevant. So your specific CABG population, your specific AVR, your specific AVR plus CABG, etc. They're all very specific to populations and the patients that are being treated. The multi-procedural is a gathering of all of that data, all of the patients you're treating, to see how you're really doing as a heart program, not as a CABG program, not as an AVR program, but overall multi-procedural, how are you performing? The larger N gives you a better chance to receive a more accurate reflection in your star ratings of your site's performance.
Thanks, Carol. Will multi-procedural go back 3 years? Yes, it will be 36 months of data. Just like the other harvest or the other composites. Will an aortic risk calculator come out with a new aorta Proc ID? I'm assuming so.
Yeah, I think, but I don't know. That's through our research center,
Yeah.
our research and analytics center.
Yeah.
They work on the calculators.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Seems like we're getting dinged twice for morbidity and mortality since we're already getting star ratings for the individual categories.
And the individual categories are going to have a lower N, but they risk adjust based on the risk of the patients coming into the OR and look at the outcomes of those patients. It's not getting dinged twice. It's just two different populations that you're receiving star ratings on. The populations have an overlap. So it's not getting dinged twice because we risk adjust for that. So it's not like we're taking the CABG population, doing the star rating, and then taking that same and then counting it as another mortality. The same patient would only be counted once as a mortality, once in the CABG, and then once in the CABG rating, and then in the multi-procedural, it would again be counted as a mortality, but it's not double counting them.
All right. The multi-procedural composite, is that to be included in Harvest 3 results that come out in December or for next year at Harvest 1? And that'll be for Harvest 1. Multi-procedural is overall program without the other category.
I agree.
Yes. I think the term multi-procedure is confusing. When you just stated all procedures combined,
Yeah.
it made more sense.
So earlier during this call, what I was thinking about is Halloween candy. And this is what I was thinking. So you have a bag of Skittles and you have grape and orange and lime and cherry and lemon. And let's just say we're going to call those Proc ID orange, Proc ID red, Proc ID whatever. But you have all, you have 5 different candies in one bag. Put all those candies in the bag. You have one bag full of candy. That's your multi-procedural. One bag of Skittles. Each of those Skittles represents a different type of procedure, but you have one bag that's going to combine everything.
That's it.
So the
That's
more
great.
Skittles so I'm going to continue. So the more Skittles you have, the more you realize how much you love them. So you have a better indicator of the quality of the Skittles. If you just get one bad Skittle, then you don't know if all Skittles are bad. So that's why we want a bunch of Skittles in the bag to see how you're really performing.
That's awesome. That's an awesome way to look
How
at
was
it.
that Skittle analogy?
The Skittle analogy is awesome. It's a great way to think of it. I love it.
Thanks.
We could have not had a webinar and just said that.
It would have saved us all the questions, right?
All right, we are a good bit over time. Just 2 more questions here, and then we'll close out for the day. So will the training manual language for sequence 1966 be updated to include reference to the new risk calculators?
Yes, when it gets all clarified and put out.
Thanks, Melinda. And finally, multi-procedure will use the individual procedures after risk adjustments have been made as per the procedure.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure about that. We'll have to get clarity on that, Sue Ellen. I think that's Sue Ellen who's asking the question. I don't know. We'll have to get more clarity on that when we get closer. It could either be that and then another model is applied after the risk adjustment's done on each individual population, or it could be applied to the entire population as a brand new model that that includes every type of procedure. So the model's either going to be run on the individual Skittles or it's going to be run on the whole bag of Skittles. I'm just not sure yet.
I love that. All right. Thank you, everyone who joined. Thanks for staying with us for the extra time so we could get all the questions answered. We will revisit this for sure, and we will have a webinar on multi-procedural. We'll get these Proc ID tables posted and the risk model variable chart posted to the website for all of you guys. We understand that you need this information, so we will work hard to get that done, and we will.
I'm going to go buy Skittles too right now, Mary.
Yeah, I know. I have a whole basket full of leftover Halloween candy, not Skittles, but
They're still in the same family.
all the other things.
Yeah.
All the procedures are in my candy basket.
That's
All right. Well,
Good
thank
job,
you
Steve.
everyone for joining. I
Thank you.
prefer M&Ms too.
We could do M&Ms. We can talk about M&Ms next time and come up with an analogy for those. I wish we would have thought about that a long time ago though, because it would have saved us a lot.
Would have saved some time, huh?
That's all right. I think we got it now.
Yeah. Got it.
Everybody's
All
sales are
right.
going to increase on Skittles, so go get them. Thanks, Nancy. Bye.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Hey, good job, Nancy and Carol.
Thanks, Melinda.
Thank
Thank you.
you.